Growing a successful business has never been easy. But whether you're navigating a complex industry or trying to reinvent one, our breadth of banking experts are here to collaborate on market-proven solutions. At KeyBank, we're built to grow with your changing needs because we're not just here for the business you are now, we're here for the business you'll become. Reimagine business as usual. KeyBank opens doors. Learn more at key.com/B2B.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
All right. This ain't just a show. This is a platform. Veteran built, battle tested. Welcome to the Misfit Nation. Yeah! Mic in the room, built from boots on the ground, now we breaking the rules. 2 vets, 1 leader, painting the sound, turn scars into sermons, let them echo around. Artists with truth, musicians with fire, actors backstage chasing something higher. Entrepreneurs bleeding just to get ahead. If you fought for your dream, yeah, you are what you said. If they told you no, if you still came back, if you fell to your knees but you stayed on track, this is your voice, this is your flame. Say it loud, remember the name. No salvation, just elevation. We rise again. From the fight to the end. We are the Misfit Nation. No damn labels, no damn cages. If you're still breathing, you belong. Turn it up. This is our song. Yeah. This is our song. Yeah. Veterans standing with ghosts in the chest. First responders running in while the world second guess. Gold star names carved deep in the soul. Your story ain't over, we carry the whole. Coaches teaching mindset, breaking the chains, turning barely alive into owning the pain. Truth over polish, scars on display. If it's real, let it bleed. That's the misstep play. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels close. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels cold. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels close. It's Aubrey right now. We're the more than you know. Don't walk alone. Veterans press 1, bring it home. Don't trade forever for tonight. You're still needed in this fight. We are the Misfit Nation, built from scars and dedication. We rise again. From the fire, from the fight to the end. We are the Misfit Nation. Every voice is vindication. From the silence to the scream, we're strong. Welcome home. You belong. You belong. You belong. Oh wait. You. Oh wait. You belong.
Woo! All right, Mr. Nation. Welcome back to the Thursday after dinner edition. Thank you for taking some of your time tonight to hang out with us. We know you have other places you could be, especially as spring is trying to happen now. It's not as cold as it was. It's nice and warm. Things are starting to bloom. You want to be outside. You want to get those kids out of energy. I understand you. Believe me, I do. But tonight we have a real good guest, and he's relevant to what just happened just this weekend. So welcome back, of course. Today's guest is someone who spent his career doing one of the most dangerous and selfless jobs in the United States military, combat search and rescue. He served for 25 years as United States Air Force pilot, flying the HH-60G Pave Hawk helicopter, conducting rescue missions in some of the most dangerous environments on Earth. We're talking about flying into combat zones where others are trying to get out, bringing home wounded soldiers, downed pilots, and teammates who needed someone willing to risk everything to get them out. He flew more than 200 combat missions, deployed 8 times across the Middle East and Central Asia, and even commanded the 33rd Expeditionary Rescue Squadron in Kandahar. His actions in combat earned him some of the military's highest honors, including 2 Distinguished Flying Crosses with Valor, the Cheney Award, and multiple air medals. But what makes this conversation powerful is not just the missions, it's the mindset behind them. He now teaches what he calls the 3 rings mindset, a combat-proven approach to mastering focus, controlling emotions, and performing at your highest level under pressure. Whether you're leading a team, chasing excellence in business, or simply trying to become more resilient in life, there are lessons here that apply to all of us. So sit back, lean in, and get ready for an awesome conversation with Lieutenant Colonel retired John Mangan on the MisFitNation Show. Welcome, John.
Hey, Rich. Thanks for that intro. Got me fired up just listening to it.
All right. Woo! I say
like, who is he talking about?
Rescue Squadron in Kandahar. I was in Kandahar in 2010 and 11.
Okay.
Task Force Pedro.
There was a lot going on back in 10 and 11. That was not a quiet time.
Pedro would always come whenever we called. They would come. So I thank you guys for that.
Oh God, we were busy. It was a busy time.
So John, I gave more than the usual elevator pitch about you right there. If you don't mind, give us a little more about you, because even some of the stressful situations and you're in your house alone right now, you can take some of that mindset with the triplets. So you can take as far back as you want to go to how we got Air Force to how we got here. That'd be awesome.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I was just a kid, teenager, obsessed with airplanes, jets, noise, speed, flash. Yeah. Just the beauty of them. They're like something supernatural when you see them up close. But so obsessed with jets, that got me into the Air Force Academy. That gave me the energy and the fuel to study, work, do all the things, all the extracurriculars you have to do, Boy Scouts, etc. So I went through the Air Force Academy, and while I was at the Air Force Academy, just maturing a little bit more and learning more about myself and what I wanted, I decided I wanted to go rescue. I wanted to do the mission. So when you're a young man, you just see the jet, and all you want is the fast jet. And then for me, eventually, I said, hey, it's going to be about what'll matter is what I do, and it doesn't matter about the vehicle. So went over to helicopters, and I went to Air Force Rescue because the Air Force maintains, it's the only unit like it on planet Earth, the only force like it, who their one job, as defined by the Air Force, bought and paid for, is to go behind enemy lines, pick up, shot down, isolated pilots, and bring them back. Yeah, that's a very, very unique mission. It's one of the most difficult out there. And so started doing it. And of course, this was pre 9/11, so the world was completely different. When I went in, we hadn't done a combat mission since, I think, 1975 was probably the last time Air Force Rescue had done one. Air Force Special Ops had done some combat search and rescue in Allied force in 99, when an F-16 pilot and a 117 pilot had been shot down behind enemy lines. And both times, special operations were able to go in and get those guys out. And they have amazing stories as well, what they pulled off. But that had been it for over 30 years at that point.
Wow.
Then 9/11 happened, and the GWAT started, and the nature of the mission changed because Air Force pilots, it was pretty rare to get shot down behind enemy lines. So we started moving over into a CASEVAC and medevac role, and just a jack of all trades. And it was extremely chaotic, a lot of growing pains, learning what we're going to do, how we do it, who we work with. And it was just really an incredible experience because every mission was different from every other mission you'd ever been on. I could just talk for hours about the things we did, and that was never what we trained for. And that was probably one of the most illuminating facets of the GWAT was we didn't train for what we did. And so you had to be adaptable. You had to be able to think under pressure, analyze what the situation was, and figure out the best way to do it. And that's, so that was that. And I eventually retired in 17 and kept teaching in the simulators at our schoolhouse. And one thing that really happened there was I would put my students into the same missions I had flown. So I could recreate the missions in the simulator. I would put them in the exact same place, the exact same enemy threats, and I would run them through these missions. And I could get them to make the same mistakes that I or my wingmen, my teammates had made. And that was really eye-opening. I was like, what's going on here? That these guys are making the exact same mistakes that we made. So I started doing some more research on combat psychology, what happens to the mind under stress. And that explained it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is science going on here. This is psychology. This is the, how the human brain works under stress. And I eventually started writing a book about it. And how do we defeat and how do we prepare for these psychological phenomenon that occur when you're scared and stressed. And so, so just led to that book, The 3-Ring Mindset, and some people have been enjoying it and found out that those same lessons and tools apply to anywhere in life, raising triplets.
Yes. Definitely.
Yeah. I've been having to apply some of those combat lessons into the home life, and it really does help out. So that is a very quick 50,000 foot overview of the last 25, 30 years.
That's an amazing career to go into, CSAR especially. Like I said, you guys were our rescue in Kandahar. I was at Fob Wilson. Mm-hmm. And whenever we called, you guys would haul. And it didn't matter what the weather was. We knew if we called, if we were in that much trouble, most times Army Black Hawks wouldn't fly because of the weather or the wind or the sand, but you guys would come no matter what. And our guys would get out.
Yeah, it really is. That's just embedded into the culture of our community. It's a sacred trust. It's a sacred trust between the nation and the war fighters that we always come for our people, and we'll do everything physically possible to get them out. And I think what you guys just saw over there, what we all just saw in Iran over that last week, there's nothing that Americans won't do to bring their own home. And I think that speaks to who we are, as a people. And I'm really, really proud of it. And it was such an honor to be a part of it too. So
talk a little bit about what all goes into, say, that mission right there, without going into anything that's classified or anything. Go into, like, how did they plan that? Is it pre-planned? How did they go in and say, if this F-16 squadron is going out there and one of them gets shot down, this happens next?
We can plan that. That is one of the most unique things about, CSAR, combat search and rescue, is that there is so little opportunity to plan, because by definition, it's a response to a disaster. And that's what makes it so dangerous. When you look at these other special operations missions that occur, there's generally days, weeks, or even months to prepare for the mission and to run through rehearsals with all the team players, and where you're going, when you're going, who's going to be there, what the comm networks are. And so you plan for it meticulously. And in CSAR, that can't happen. And you can plan to a degree. You can prepare to a degree. You can know what the strike assets are. Like, let's say there's a strike package going into some region of Iran. So they'll know who's going, where they're going, when they're going. And we can predict, hey, some of the bad situations but you'll never truly know who you're going to have to rescue and when, and what the threats are and what the environment is and what the weather is. And so 80 to 90% of it is done on the fly.
Wow.
Making it happen. And it's very difficult for non-military folks to understand what that's like. And then in particular, the CSAR mission, there's a very, very unique component that makes that lack of planning so dangerous. Imagine, I'm trying to think of an analogy to describe what a CSAR mission is like, because you have at least 4 separate battles taking place simultaneously, one within the other, each battle nested inside the other battle. So think about the air-to-air situation, like, the F-22s that are trying to provide air cover for the rescue party. So you've got the F-22s doing air-to-air defensive or offensive operations. And then inside that, you have a ground strike package of different aircraft, different airframes, different weapons, different timelines, different fuel states. And that's the ground package, say F-15Es, F-16CJs or 35s who are trying to suppress the enemy ground forces. Their air defense system, their radar systems, the surface-to-air missile systems. And then you've got A-10s inside of that, some kind of ground strike, in close, right next to the survivor. And those guys operate at different speeds, different altitudes, different communication networks, different concerns, and different threats. Now put the helicopter component inside of that. And the helicopters are moving at different speeds, different timelines, different threats, different factors. And then put the ground component, the survivor themselves or the PJs who are on the ground, and the threats that are facing them and the issues that they are facing. And so you have almost like, imagine those Russian nested dolls. And each one of these battles is taking place inside the other battle. And so here's a sports analogy. Imagine a football field, and there's a football team, playing their game on that football field. And there's also a soccer match taking place on the same field. Different team, different players, different considerations, different time. And then put a volleyball court in the middle of that field. And they've got their team going. And then put a curling, the ice rink, the curlers, they're sliding. And you've got a curling match taking place in the middle of that. And so you have all these different fights and contests taking place. And the people who are trying to run it, the quarterback, has to be aware of every single one of those matches taking place, the time, the threats, all of the factors that take, and you have to win every single one of those matches simultaneously for the operation to work. And you don't get to come up with a plan beforehand. Wow. So that's probably a pretty accurate analogy of the chaos that is going on and the professionalism that has to occur, where each team is aware of what the other team is doing and how it affects them. And you could see this going on over in Iran, what happened so quickly, that plan they came up with and executed. And the fact that they pulled it off is just a testament to the professionalism, the intelligence, the courage of those people willing to do something that dangerous at the drop of a hat. It's just absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning.
It was definitely amazing to be on the other side now and be able to watch, actually get the feed as things happen. Because, news now, it's fed to us pretty quickly. And we're getting the fake stories, and you got to pick out what's real, but you can see the warriors doing what they're doing.
Yeah, I was actually able to, put up my X feed, and I was watching live feeds from Iranian defense systems shooting at my guys, but the rest, I'm like, yeah, I'm seeing my helicopters. I'm like, I don't know the names of the people in there, but I know them. I know I trained them. And it was just absolutely surreal to watch them being shot at from the Iranian point of view. Just absolutely stunning.
Yeah, you can see like it's almost on a cell phone video too, because you can see the sand cloud and they're running out with their white shirts on, shooting some long guns. A couple guys had pistols.
There was one video that came out. They said it was an Iranian border guard, and I think they were shooting 30 millimeter.
Wow.
It was a big. Yeah, you couldn't quite see it, but you could hear it and see the rate of fire, and it was enormous, absolutely enormous. And they were just lobbing shells out towards those Pave Hawks, and as they skittered out and got on home. But the fact that they brought that guy back, they got that pilot back, and I think there was several injuries on board the helicopters from being struck by ground fire. And they still just pulled it off, just kept going. I mean, it's absolutely amazing.
You never once heard anyone from that side, from the warrior side, complain. And the only people that were kind of rooting for it was the weird people in the media rooting for the failure of it, because they wanted that. That's hard.
Yeah, that's disgusting when your politics gets involved in to that level. Don't want to send me down that rabbit hole, so I don't go into a blinding rage.
I try to stay out of it as much as possible. When I watch that, and you can't help it, especially if you're on X, you'll see both sides of it coming up, and it really annoys the crap out of you. But you have to just take a step back, breathe, and say the real warriors are doing the job, and get it done.
Those people have always been there. Those people have always existed, and it's just now they're put in your face. So I just
constant basis.
Yeah, you're never going to fix the world, and there's always going to be idiots out there. So you just got to learn to live with it.
You just got to learn that they're going to be here forever, and just act like Tay-Tay and shake it off. Just shake it off as much as you can.
Yeah.
Walk
just
forward.
keep on rucking.
Just keep on keeping on. Joe Dirt.
Yeah.
Joe Dirt. So now you kind of touched a little bit on the Three Rings mindset. Let's go dive a little deeper into the Three Rings mindset. I think this is an awesome concept and should help a lot of people. So let's dive in a little more into that and the why. You gave a little bit about the why behind it, but give it a little bit more forward about it.
Okay. Well, so for the book itself, it is I went and I researched and looked into all these different sports psychology books on how they try and take athletes and get them to max perform their minds under stress, under pressure. And they spent decades developing extremely effective techniques that are very easy to use, and really it's amazing how quickly you can change how you interact with the world and how you interact with your own stress response and emotions just by becoming aware of it, becoming aware of how you work and how your brain works. And once you know how it works, you can modify your own behavior in your mind. And so that's what the book is, taking those techniques from sports and then putting them into combat aviation specifically, or just any stressful event, any first responders, cops, or like a CEO, who's facing a critical crisis where their business is on the line and they have to make some decisions and they want to get the emotion out of the decision and be operating on facts and reality and acknowledging what is possible and what is not possible. And you have to get the emotion out of that OODA loop if you're going to act effectively. And so from that large, the entire book, there is one section where if you want to talk about what I call the 3-ring mindset. And it's very simple, and it just affects how do I look at the world and what do I allow myself to have emotions for? And the inner ring is the things that you control. That's where you invest your emotion. That's where you invest your passion. That's where you be a human being. And so what is it that you control? You control yourself. You control your fitness. You control your preparation. You control your diet. You control your sleep. You control how you interact with your family, with your friends. You control how much work you put into your education or whatever your skill set is. For you being a podcaster, becoming the best podcaster you possibly can, and knowing your audience and doing your research. And so you build yourself. Your emotions are focused on building yourself into the best possible person that you can be. And that's the middle. That's the inner ring. Now the middle ring is the things you can't control, but the things you can influence. And so when you're interacting with something that's is frustrating you, let's say you have a team member, part of your team who's not carrying their weight, or they're consistently messing up and their problems are affecting the group. Your natural response is to get angry at the person or become frustrated with the person, or maybe, or like a kid, one of your children, you're getting angry at your children for whatever the problem is. Recognize you can't control them, so don't get angry at them. Don't put your emotion onto that thing you can't control. Look specifically at how you can influence them. And that's where you put your emotion, because you can control your influence. So you look at your teammate who's struggling and go, how do I fix this problem? And what are the mechanisms of influence? And it could be leadership. What are my leadership abilities that can inspire them to prepare more, or work harder, or focus more accurately? Or what are my mentorship abilities? How do I mentor this struggling teammate and help improve their skills? So I can take them aside and I can drill down with them on finding out what is the source of the problem, and I can help build them up. Or maybe it's finding out, as a friend, why are they distracted? Why are they not able to put the time into what matters? So you can see that there's ways you influence situations, and that's where you put your emotions. And then that outer ring is the things you have absolutely no control over. Enemy action that surprised you, or weather, or broken equipment, or higher leadership that you can't communicate with, and decisions they make. And so if you can't control it, you can't influence it, you've got no emotional connection to it. You don't get frustrated, you don't get angry, and you just treat it as a problem to solve or an opportunity to exploit. You evaluate, come up with the best course of action, and execute. And so when you shape your world with that kind of that template, it lets you know when you're getting out of line. When you find your emotions building up and you can feel that frustration rising, or that anger rising, or maybe resignation, just evaluate it and go, am I outside of my rings? Am I doing the wrong thing here? And so it gives you a guide. It gives you a guide on how to control yourself, control your worldview, your mindsets, and just gives you some guidance on, how to interact with daily problems. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's one aspect of the book.
That's amazing. And I like the three ring analogy on that, because a lot of people get so caught up in the things that they can't control.
Yeah.
They frustrate them. They go crazy, pulling their hair out, and they lose. It lets them ruin their day or ruin their time because they can't do anything.
Absolutely. Actually, a buddy of mine, he He specialized in recovering trafficked children, trafficked children who were taken away or runaways or who were abused, but he helps them get back into, integrated back into society. And he works with some of them. And he said he's going to use this technique with them because you've gotten these kids who have just been incredibly traumatized. And imagine going through those most horrible things that a human being possibly can. And it distorts their whole perception of relationships with the world or society and their friends and family. And he wants to, I'm working with him actually right now, and we're coming up with how to adapt some of these concepts and present them, to kids as they try and work their way and rebuild themselves and, learn how to operate in society again. And it was really, really inspiring and meaningful to me when he brought that up. And so there's just a lot to it. It's just about how you live your life.
I think that definitely would help those children of human trafficking. That's just it's a horrible thing no matter what. But that's the worst part of it, I believe. Is adults that get trafficked as well. But when you see it as a kid, especially when you have kids, you understand what that kid's life should be like, and then what it is.
Yeah, and you can imagine what kind of emotional control is like for somebody who's been through that, that level of trauma. And so we're just that's a new avenue we're going to be exploring, and trying to work with some of these kids and help them get back on the right track and rebuild life. That's
awesome.
Yeah, it's just part of being a good human being that's in charge of yourself. It's a form of mindfulness. Yes. If you want to call it combat mindfulness.
Nice. I like that. You should put that on a shirt.
Yeah.
It made me think right away of the movie Instant Family with Mark Wahlberg, where they adopted.
I haven't seen it. I like Mark
Wahlberg.
Two
girls, and those were kids that were in multiple foster homes, and that's another traumatic thing, going to different foster homes, and the boy is so traumatized from the different foster families that he's afraid to do anything. He's afraid to get in trouble. He's afraid to touch things. He's always afraid, and then he's always getting hurt. So,
wow, okay.
There's all these things going on, and Mark Wahlberg and his wife have to try to figure out. It's based on a true story.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It made me think of that when you're saying that. So
that's called Instant Family.
Yeah, Instant Family.
Oh, I'll have to go look that up.
It's a good one, and that would another set of individuals that would help as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I see just on your site you also have a thriller. So you go from coaching, motivational speaking, psychology, self-help into a thriller. Was it just you were bored one day and wrote both, or?
Oh, it's kind of interesting. I actually wrote that first, and I started writing it in Afghanistan in I think I was really writing it in 2009. And I would write it in my down hours. We'd be on a 12-hour shift, going out doing missions, and we'd have 12 hours down. And I started writing it, and there was a number of themes that I was pulling directly from my experiences in Afghanistan. And one of them was the sense of wilderness that I experienced there, because you're in this land there, there's no law but the law of the gun. And it's so shocking for Americans who've lived in the rule of law. From the moment you are born all through your life, there's always rules. There's always guideposts and guardrails and referees and people enforcing human behavior. And so if I can make an analogy, it's imagine like a fish, and the fish is in water, and you don't even know the water is there because it's always been there. And then the rule of law and civilization has always been there. We've never anything else. And then suddenly the fish is taken out of that water into the real world in its most natural state, where it's the law of force and violence and who's willing to use that violence or leverage. And it was like I was seeing humanity in the real world as it always was, outside of the American bubble. And I realized it was a Western. Yeah, and that's why Americans like Westerns. That's why it's an enduring genre, and it strikes a chord in the American psyche. And I felt like I was in that environment, and I was seeing it and feeling it, and I wanted to recreate that feeling in the book. And so it's a modern Western that takes place in Africa. I create, there's a giant failed state, and people, who settled the American West, the desperate people, the desperados, people who were running from something, people who were searching opportunity, who wanted to build something for themselves. And so I recreated kind of a modern Western in that environment. And then the other element that it took me years to figure out what was happening was the violence that we were seeing in our Kazovac and medevac jobs. I couldn't understand, there's no reason for it. There's like a busload a bus with a family and a bunch of kids drives over an old mine that's been sitting out there for 30 years and just decimates the family. There's no reason for that. It doesn't build towards anything. It's just senseless. And that really disturbed me, seeing it, the senselessness of it. And so I think in the book, I was able to have violent situations and the violence associated with an Old West scenario, but I could control it. Psychologically, I think it was like a form of first aid, psychological first aid, because I could control the violence in the book and I could have it lead to something. I could have it mean something. And so it was, it was, I guess just psychological first aid for me, trying to get that out and deal with that pressure that was very, very difficult. And so I created a story out of it, and pretty proud. I won an award for it, silver medal from the American Military Writers Association. And it's just done pretty good. And it's called Into a Dark Frontier. I don't know if you can see it back there.
I got you. I see it there. I'm looking at it on my screen too. So have it on over here so I can see.
Yeah, you want me to pull it up? So anybody, so it's on Amazon. Into a Dark Frontier. It's a good read, and I did take many of the small stories and events. I did draw from things that people experienced, people that I knew, people that I worked with, or just people that I befriended over the years, and them telling me their experiences, and I tried to work it in there. So it's a very human responses to some of the most extreme situations that I think people can be thrown into. But it was good therapy, and I'm struggling.
I had that same therapy when I was writing my book, Out of the Darkness, and I would get into the combat scenes, and I would just go deeper and deeper and deeper into it, because I was just releasing. And and then I had to tell myself I have to stop. The reader doesn't want to read all of it. Some do want to read all that, but there's others that don't want to read just that. They want to see what happens next, and what happens to people next.
Yes,
I had to get that in my head to get that that warrior mindset out and get back into there's more than me in this world, and do other things.
Yeah, because the combat isn't just what happens on that battlefield. It's the arc. It's the arc of what it does to a person. And I think, that's why you're here, and that's why your listeners are here, is that arc of those events, how it changes you, and, where it takes you in life. The effect lasts for decades from, an event that might have lasted a few seconds. And, it becomes part of you, for good or for bad.
That window, that 30-second window, I had a sergeant major tell us, you have a 30-second window to make a decision. It's either going to be a great one or a horrible one, but it's going to stay with you. Just remember it.
And a lot of times it's just luck on whether your decision is good or bad. Yes. You might make one decision and luck turns you into a hero. Make the exact same decision and luck turns you into a goat. and things go horrible. I mean, and that's one of the toughest things to deal with, is the element that you don't control. That lack of control over things that are so momentous is difficult to deal with.
100%.
Yep.
And I think that's something, I think using the three-ring mindset, bringing that into maybe some NCO academies or even junior officer classes, that will help them move forward. We didn't have that when we came in. And we didn't have that when we were going through our schools. We didn't have the psychology of things in our schools.
Yes.
And now they integrate a little more now at the battalion level and such like that. But
yeah.
They need to introduce it to the lower leadership level.
Yeah.
So they can ingrain that into their young warriors and push them forward. And everyone will have that same mindset moving forward.
Yeah.
That they control the things you can, influence that which you can't, and let other things go. And you got to understand.
Yeah, that's actually I addressed that in the book, called An Athletic Mindset, with the idea of imagine a quarterback. If a quarterback makes a bad throw, that has to disappear from his mind. Once it's over and done, luck intervened, it didn't work. He has to move on and immediately make the best decision for the next play and the next play. And you can't let those previous mistakes and those previous setbacks be influencing your current decision cycle. And some people don't have that, and you have to recognize that you don't have it. And you tend, just go, hey, I ruminate over those mistakes I made. I let them get into my head, and I dwell on them, and I think about them. And then you've got to work to get over that. It's going to take hard work. It's going to take you acknowledging your shortcoming there, recognize what you need to become, and then work to become it. Yeah, it takes work and repetition.
Definitely. Just like everything in life, repetition helps you get better at stuff.
Yeah.
And not everything's going to go the way you planned. And in combat, especially, the enemy has a vote. So you have to make sure that their vote doesn't count as much as yours.
Yeah.
We have a couple questions from the audience that have popped in here. This one's from No More Poor Sugar. John, what was the moment during your combat career that required the most composure under pressure? Thank you.
Geez. Crazy enough, it was the very first mission I went on. Wow. I was on over 200 combat missions, and the very first one was the worst. And and that was Operation Anaconda. The very first day, everything went bad. The 10th Mountain Division they had 80 guys pinned down they called it Hell's Half Pipe. And we had to go in there, and I could talk for hours about the setup, but just very quickly, 3 Apaches had already been driven off with battle damage. Wow. Direct hits with RPGs and 12.7 millimeter on Apaches. And the thing is, the Apaches were flying. They were moving, and the Apaches were shooting back. And then now we were going to go in there and land there in the middle of that shooting gallery and sit still for 5 minutes while they load up all the injured. And then we had time to sit and dwell on that and think about it. And so that was when I most needed composure. And I'll tell you, I kind of lost my composure. I could have done so much better. And I talk about this extensively in the book, because I hadn't been trained on how to deal with stressful situations. And if I could just go back and talk to myself, there's all these techniques you can use for mental discipline on where you let your mind go. What do you think about? What do you not think about? How do you occupy your attention? How do you control your focus? And I was a hot mess. I was just thinking about dying. I was thinking about everything that could go wrong. I was dwelling and ruminating about the worst case scenarios. And I kicked my own ass before I even went in there. Wow. And so if you're asking for I can't give you a great victory story. We just got, of personal success. We got lucky. We went in and we did it, but it was luck. There was so much luck involved. But what did get us through was that we had the repetition of our training. And so I know you've heard it 100 times when they're interviewing some guy who just made it through something. And I know you've heard it. And they say the training took over or the training kicked in. I mean, how many times have you heard some guy go, well, we did it and the training just kicked in? And it's real. It's how the mind works. And what they're talking about is the things they did over and over via repetition, dozens or hundreds of times, you get scared and your forebrain shuts down. And the only thing left is what you did with repetition. The training kicked in. And so luckily we did have a good training regiment where we practiced our landings and our takeoffs and all of our maneuvers over and over and over. And so when the fear got the best of me and my conscious problem-solving brain exploded away like a flock of birds, the training did remain and it worked. And we got lucky and we got out of there without a scratch on us. It was absolutely amazing. So that was the first example. And later on, 200 missions later, I could go into these firefights and maintain my composure. And I could still think and I could still problem solve and I could make decisions and evaluate risk and modify our game plans. And that took a lot of work and a lot of experience. But like with my book, I'm hoping, hey, go talk to the younger self. Yes. And, just learn the lesson early, and use these techniques and understand how your brain works and how your body works. And you'll get up to that high level of performance so much quicker.
Definitely. 1999, I was leaving Fort Campbell the first time, doing my last field problem, and we had a Black Hawk go down right next to my squad.
Oh, geez.
And that's the first time I realized that you can go on autopilot. And all the training that we thought was just dumb. Oh, we're doing all stupid training again. Training. Combat life. We're taking combat life taker all the time.
Yeah.
Taking this training. And then when we responded, it all just was autopilot. Everything just happened.
Yep.
And then by the time your adrenaline goes away, you're like, what did we just do?
Yes.
It was amazing.
The repetition inoculates that whatever habit you're building, whatever procedure you're doing over and over, the repetition is inoculating it against fear. And so if you as a student or whatever you're doing, do something, master it, perfect it, and then do it again and again and again. And you go, hey, I know how to do this. Why should I do it again? Do it again. Do it again until it bores you. Do it again until your mind until it becomes muscle memory. So it looks like your body is just functioning without any conscious input from you. And that's when it's inoculated against fear, and you'll be able to perform that under stress.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You'll be rewarded for it. In the end, definitely will. And you'll understand when it happens.
Yeah. And if you're the instructor, make your students do it.
Yes.
Hey, student, I just saw you did it. You did a good job. Now do it again. And so that's the simple, strongest, most useful lesson I can give people is repetition of training.
Definitely. And you brought up Anaconda. For those who are listening and don't know what Anaconda is, there's a lot of books on it. Mm-hmm. And it was probably the biggest early battle in Afghanistan where multiple forces were involved. And special operations, and a lot of things were going crazy at the same time.
Yeah,
a lot of moving pieces at the same time were going on. So it was a very dynamic battle. And if you Not a Good Day to Die is one of the books.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple others.
Yeah, they actually Not a Good Day to Die. They actually have about half a page dedicated to my rescue. So. What was funny, this is I really like this. In that book, he interviews some guy who saw my landing. He describes me coming into land, and he thought I was crashing. And so that was another badge of honor is when somebody thinks your landing is a crash, then you're coming in hot.
Controlled chaos.
Exactly.
All right. And our next question is from May I Be You Today? What separates elite performers in high risk environments from everyone else? I think you just kind of hit some of that, but
yeah. But I would say purpose. So how did they become elite? That's maybe the question. What separates your average Joe? And then here's a guy who's elite at something. And it starts with purpose. Your average Joe sees something, whether the elite performing is military or first responder, or heck, it could be an author or a podcaster, whatever. And you find the purpose that inspires you and drives you and gives you that fire and that energy. And from that, everything else is possible. When you believe that what you're doing matters and will change the world in some small way, then the discipline and the sacrifice that is required to become elite comes naturally. Yes. So we talked about the repetition, which requires discipline and energy and time invested. And what will make a person do that? Purpose. And so whatever field of excellence you have entered in, ask yourself the question, why am I here? And if you're a leader, ask your people that. Take them aside and go, why are you here? And they should be able to answer it. And if they can't, it's time for some soul searching. Yes. Or if the reason is maybe selfish. I know people that went to pilot training because they wanted to get their wings so they could get a job in the airlines. And so that was their purpose. Yeah, I'm just here to get my wings, build some hours, and then go work in the airlines. That will work for them, but they're not going to become elite.
Right.
And so if you want to become elite, find and answer the question, why are you here? And if it is for serving others and serving mankind, serving your nation, making the world a better place in some way, find it, believe it, and make that a part of who you are. And now the discipline and the sacrifice will come naturally. And it won't be sacrifice. It'll be a joyful struggle as you work towards something meaningful. And the things that you give up are in pursuit of that goal are worth it now. And I guess you can sum that up with be part of something bigger than yourself. That's the quickest way to say it.
Yes.
So that's the quickest way to say it. And there you have it. And just dedicate yourself to something bigger than one individual person. And it brings so much meaning to your life and your sacrifice and your discipline.
That's definitely a perfect way to put it. Always remember something bigger than you out there. You're not the biggest. You're not the biggest, baddest guy out there all the time. There's always a big higher purpose than you.
Yeah. There's so much more than a single human being.
You got to serve a purpose and wake up every morning, get to do things.
Yeah.
Don't go through life saying you got to do it. We try to preach that here a lot. Get to do things. Don't got to do things. That way you're not just dredging life or hating life.
Yeah.
Begging for coffee to get mainlined into you to stay awake at work.
Yeah.
So that's one great thing. That's awesome saying though.
Oh, thanks.
The next one here is from Dolly Joe. How did flying rescue missions shape the way you view leadership?
I'm trying to, let me think of specific to rescue. It made me understand the burden that you bear as a leader to honor what your followers are giving you, because specifically we're all putting our lives on the line. And when one of your followers, when some of my crew members would follow me into these missions, and I had to make the decision, to go or not go, or just, hey, should we wait a little while longer for better weather? And maybe I'll try and give two examples. I was on a mission once. This is Afghanistan, and a soldier had his hand had been blown off, and we wanted to get him out there, but he was stable. He was stable. He was inside an American facility. He had medical care, and the Army wouldn't go because the weather was too bad. So the Army said, we're not going. And we're gonna fly, and we're gonna get this guy. And the weather was horrible. We took off and we're flying. And if it had been like a training mission back home, there's no way we would have gone out and trained in this weather. But I was a very young flight lead. This is one of my first missions where I was in charge and the whole team is behind me and I'm making the decisions. And so there's a bit of pride where I can do this. I'm the leader. This is my team. We've trained and I know we can do it. And we were pushing. We left Kandahar, and it was going to be a long flight. It was going to be like it was going to be like a 5-hour flight up there. And we were going to be, then 5 hours back, and we were going to have to be refueling. And we're creeping through the mountains, and we're on these maps that some aircraft have terrain following radar that will guide you through the mountains at night like that, and we don't. And so we're looking at these maps, we're making these turn calls, and we're staring at our FLIR and our goggles, and we can barely see in front of us, and these ridge lines just come out of the darkness, and you're popping up over them, and your heart's in your throat. And I remember thinking, we can do this. We can do this. We can do this. And the thing, we trained for this. We have the abilities. We have the teamwork. And I looked over at my co-pilot, Adam. You could just barely see him in the dark, just, some of the screen from the map screen illuminating his face. And I looked at him and how vulnerable he was because his head was down. And I go, if I screw this up, and I miss this next ridgeline, and I pack us in and we all die, he's not even going to know it happened.
Man.
It was just the amount of trust he had in me that we're flying along and he's just looking down, and I'm the one outside at flying. And I saw it, and I saw how vulnerable he was. And something clicked in my head that everybody behind me is trusting me just like him. And that trust, and something clicked, and I said, they're here because they believe in me. And so what is it that's driving my decision? And I realized that what was driving my decision was a bit of pride, trying to prove myself as a young flight lead, because we can do it. And I'm not one who turns around, and I'm not one who quits. And because that mindset is what gets you to that place. I never quit. Doesn't matter doesn't matter how much it hurts, how much time, I'm going to earn this and get through it and win it. And that was the first time in my life when I said, I don't need to win this. This isn't about pride. We can be here and we can do this, but should we? And that was where I took my pride out of it. And I weighed the risk to all those, 11 men. I was the 12th, 11 men behind me, trusting me. And we're here because of my pride. And this guy he'll be okay. He can make it till sunrise. He's stable. And tonight, we're going to go home. Yep. And so I made the call to turn us around. That was the first time I think I ever quit at anything in my life. And we quit. And we turned around and flew home. And I think that I saved 12 lives that night.
Wow.
You know, my life included. And so similar situation happened again in 2009, where we had a mission and I had to decide, do we go or do we not go? Incredibly high risk. I won't go into the whole detail, but incredibly high risk. And it would have been within my right to not go. But we had 2 Marines, one with a gunshot wound to the neck. He was not stable. He's bleeding out. And I realized every single one of those crew members had given me their life like a poker chip. And you're sitting at that table, you know, and the Grim Reaper is dealing the cards. And you've got to make that decision if you're going to go all in and push all those chips on the table and recognize the trust and what each one of those of your followers has given you. And when you realize that trust and the value of what they've given you, their life, it is so humbling. And you have to ask yourself, did I prepare enough? Did I work hard enough? Did I study hard enough? Did I train hard enough? Am I good enough at my job? And so if I could pass that lesson to the young leaders before they're in that situation, before they have to face that moment, and to answer that question, recognize the magnitude of what your followers have given you. And you damn well better honor that. And you better be the best damn, whatever you are, the best damn leader you can possibly be to honor what they've placed in your trust. And that's what I learned from CSAR. If you know, for leadership, is to look at yourself and have you lived up to the trust that has been placed in you by your followers.
Definitely, that's a great answer, and thanks for sharing that story too. That's amazing to share those things, and I know it helps you to share them as well. So that's awesome to get them out there and teach those lessons to those next generation of leaders. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. If you can know that before the moment occurs, when you're discovering that while you're out there, that's a bad place to discover that stuff.
Definitely. It starts to hurt after a while.
Yeah.
I'll take one last question from the audience here, and then we'll start to wind her down here.
Okay.
From Knox ID 6. Knoxid 6. What advice would you give someone striving to reach their highest potential? Great question.
Similar to the question before, we were talking about what separates the elite person. Similar motion idea there. Find that the desire, the drive. Answer why are you here, and find what inspires you particularly and the gifts that God has given you and develop those. You know, because obviously sometimes you might have a desire to do something, but you don't have the gift for it. Whether it's a physical gift, a gift of speed or strength or mental acumen or intelligence, or the ability, you know, for whatever the pursuit is, you might not have a gift and you can't take it and you'll never truly strive. But I believe everybody has a purpose that they can fulfill. And so find that balance of the desire inside of you, along with the gifts that you have physically and mentally. And the gift might be empathy.
Yep.
Your ability to empathize with somebody who's hurting, or the ability to communicate, to communicate ideas, or the ability to teach. And so find what gifts are and match that with the purpose. And I think when you have those two things of what then you can, when they come together, you will be able to believe in yourself, believe in your sacrifice, and believe that you are making the world better. And that might just be one person. You might be helping one person, and that might be all you need. And when you have that, now you've got your vector on how to improve yourself and develop yourself in service of others. And then once you have that, I would say self-awareness. Start, kind of, I talk about this in my book, the ability to look at your strengths, look at your weaknesses, look at your mindset, and look at your ability to focus, and critique your own performance. So when you fall short, to be able to ask yourself, why did I fail? And look at that honestly. Where was my what was my stumbling block? I failed because I failed to do this. Okay, why did I fail to do that? Well, my preparation wasn't good enough. Okay, why wasn't my preparation good enough? Well, my time management is poor and I didn't have the time to prepare. Okay, let's work on your time management. So you work on the time management, which gives you better ability to prepare, which gives you ability to succeed. So that's obviously just one little example, but the ability to self-critique everything about you and find out why you're succeeding or why you're not succeeding, and then make meaningful changes so that you evolve. Create the ability of self-awareness, which allows your personal evolution and personal growth. And then I think you will, whatever it is you've chosen, whatever you're pursuing, you'll have the fuel, you'll have the dedication, and now you've got a very channeled vector of self-improvement, and you can do something amazing that matters. And so,
outstanding.
Does that answer the question?
I think so. I think you hit the nail on the head on that one. So it's awesome. Now we'll go into my final two questions of you, John. These are the hard ones.
Okay.
The first one is, what my audience is made up of a lot of veterans, a lot of first responders. What's the best way they can reach out to you, maybe to pick your brain, or those of them who are podcasters, get you on their shows?
Oh, well, I've got a website, johnmanganbooks.com. And so, JOHN, and my last name is spelled MANGAN, books. There you go. Hey. So John Mangan Books, and there's and so there's a contact in there for me, John Mangan John Mangan Books at Gmail. So just email me directly. And if you've just got a personal, I just love besides flying hawks, I love teaching. I love teaching and working with people and passing on the lessons I've learned. Just go ahead and email me. And I'm also on X, John Mangan Books. They're on X, formerly Twitter. So you can just DM me there. I give seminars. And so if you've got a group of people, I don't care who it is, you just, you got a corporate event and you want to help inspire people, help find that fire, or you've got some first responders, you've got people who need to learn how to work under stress. I give some great seminars that people have really been enjoying. And of course, military. Right now, I'm working with here at the schoolhouses in Albuquerque, where we train C-130 pilots, Osprey pilots, Pave Hawks, and Hueys. And so I'm working with those students and giving them a base for how to operate under stress. But yeah, so I've got a whole series of seminars. We can custom tailor them to you, and we'll get on out there. Or if you want a workshop, you want a multi-day workshop, we can do those. And if you want, I can put together a team of bunch of different people. I've got fighter pilots. I've got Navy SEALs. I've got Rangers. I've got all kinds of people who've been in some really difficult situations. And if you want, we can do multi-day workshops where we come in, sit down with you, and help sharpen that edge and refine that vector.
Outstanding. And iron sharpens iron right there. It's good.
Yep.
I like it. And the final question, this is the hard one for you. What's 3 things the Misfit Nation, our audience members, can start doing tomorrow to be better people?
Better people. I would say one of the most important things as a human is when somebody hurts you or offends you or lets you down, give them some grace and assume the best. Start with the best assumption. Start with the assumption that they failed, but it wasn't toxic. It wasn't intentionally, it wasn't intended to hurt you. Even if it did hurt you, start from a place of understanding and looking to understand why they did it. And start from there. And I think that heads off a lot of interpersonal problems. And of course, over time, you might find that it wasn't. That in fact, it was quite toxic. And it does require some response from you. But I would say your initial response, start with understanding and strive to understand why it happened and why the conflict occurred. And from there, and so what that does is that lowers your frustration, that lowers your anger response, that lowers your revenge, or vengeance or payback time. And that lowers your anger, lowers your emotions, and allows you to evaluate the situation with with less hot-headedness, with less of, and it makes the 3-ring mindset easier. I remember, just something simple. Some guy comes blowing past me on the freeway, cuts in front of me, almost causes a car accident, and seems to be totally unnecessary. And my response is, oh my God, I wonder what's happening to that guy. What is he trying to get to that requires him to do that? Is his kid in the emergency room? Or he's got a job, and if he's late to the job, he's going to lose that job, and his family needs the money to stay in their house and not be kicked out. And so that's why he went blowing past me. And so I don't get angry. I don't start road raging. I'm like, oh man, that guy's got something heavy going on. I hope he's okay. So that's a very, very simple little example. But I would say try and apply that across your life. And that makes life a lot better. It makes your relationships with people easier and puts out fights before they can even occur. So that's one. We got 2 more. Let's see. How about this? Take creatine.
Woo, good one. Make sure you drink a lot of water.
Yeah. I love creatine. No, physical fitness. Let's see. So are we on that broad spectrum stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. How about this? Fitness for older guys. Fitness for older guys.
Yes.
That that improves your life.
Yes.
I used to run, not long distance, 5-6 miles, but I used to run. As I've gotten older, drop your pride, put your pride aside and stop running. You're just beating the living hell out of yourself. What I've gone over to is weighted rucking. And so I just go hit the trails and take a ruck with some weight on you, or carry a kettlebell in one hand, swap it back and forth, throw it over your back. It's still a phenomenal way to stress your body, keep everything, all your muscles working, everything stressed, get your cardio, but stop that pounding. So that's old man fitness.
Yes.
So I really like rucking, and heck, if you're just at the gym, get on the treadmill, put it 15 degrees up, throw a kettlebell over your back, and just do a walk. Once my back pain, that took away all my back pain, my joint pain, my hip pain, knee pain, and still stay in shape, and I love it. And then take the creatine, keep that muscle mass up. And okay, so that's number 2 for for good living. Okay, so for number 3, what do you want to do? What topic? Interpersonal relationship, professionalism.
What's your go-to thing every day?
Let's see. Fitness. Can it connect with the people that you love?
There it is.
Connect with the people that you love. And it's particularly military guys. The guys that you served with, the guys that you were family with, just drop in, and if it's just a text, just, hey bro, how you doing? Just checking in, seeing what you're up to. You don't have to say, hey, I'm here doing a wellness check. I'm worried about you. It doesn't have to, it doesn't have to be that, but just, hey, what you up to these days? We've had we've lost a number of guys over the years, and you're always just, good God, what, if you just checked in, maybe it would have changed something.
Yes.
And it's so easy nowadays. Just fire a text. How about this? Open up your contacts and just scroll through the contacts, and you'll see a name that you just haven't talked with in a long time.
Right.
And just go, boop. Hey bro, what you up to? Was just thinking of you today. Wanted to see what you were up to. I mean, of course, throw in some sort of jab,
Some
guys,
kind of side joke.
Yeah. So some little side joke, put them down in some way. I was thinking of weak people, and your head popped into my mind.
There it is.
I just want to see what you're up to.
I was drinking this purple Rip It, and I thought of you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I just fell out. I fell out of a ruck march, and I was thinking of you. So I don't know. So yeah. Just how about that? Just one little thing to some old buddy you haven't heard of, and maybe good things will come of it. If not for you, for them, who knows? So exactly. There's your 3 things.
Thank you. That was awesome. Misfit Nation, I hope you wrote them down. If not, they're in the chat as best as I could. Type all that stuff out. I'm not a master typist, but I got a lot of it in there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can just rewatch it. We love when you rewatch it. It helps us out. It helps our shows reach more people. The more you watch it, the more you like it, the more you share it. It helps us out. So thank you for that. And John, thank you for sharing your amazing journey, your story, and your service, of course.
Yeah, well, Rich, thanks for having me. I mean, just really, I like getting out and talking to people, talking to vets, talking to my old buddies, and trying to pass on those lessons that learned so painfully. And got any other podcasts, first responders or whatnot? Give me, send me a shout out, and we'll spend some time chatting.
Outstanding. John, again, thank you for tonight. Misfit Nation, you heard John just say it. I say it to you every show. If you're feeling down, you feel those walls caving in on you, don't go it alone. We need you here. Tomorrow's much better with you in it. Yeah. Reach in your wallet. You should have 3 names on a piece of paper I tell you to keep in there. They're your top 3. You can do exactly what John said. Just scroll through and hit that one name. Text somebody. Say, hey, brother, I need you. And you don't know how much it might help them.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
At the same time.
Yep.
So do all these steps. And if all that don't work, dial 988. Don't worry. They're not going to take your guns, not going to do all that stuff. They're going to help you. They're here for you. If you don't want to do that, contact us. info@themisfitnation.com, Jake@themisfitnation.com, or Steven@themisfitnation.com. We will contact you. We will keep you on the line until we find someone local to you to come and check on you and be with you so they can get you the help you need. Until next time, Misfit Nation, remember everything you learned tonight from John and me as we laughed a lot, but we also talked about a lot of serious things. Take all that stuff in. Take care of each other. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Sunday night.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation Show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.